All right. Thursday night football tonight. Same game parlay time. We have seen some line movement with the Seahawks now favored. That is more in line with what we discussed on the Tuesday episode. Now, at the time, that game was essentially a pick 'em. Our model was not, our model had it pretty close, to be honest. We discussed it. We're like, yeah, I'm not sure we want to track the Cardinals here. So have you
like a
changed
mess.
your opinion or your interpretation of this at all, given the line movement here, Dave?
Not particularly, but I do like to see the books having kind of aligned with what I already envisioned was the better side of what we had as a pick'em. That was a pick'em on some books. I just think the Seahawks are better built for this. I know it's an NFC West clash on a Thursday. This has the makings of 9-6 in some weird reality, but I just think the Seahawks are better built. They have the more interesting upside. The running back game isn't taking a hit. Charbonnet's banged up, but it's just a better outlook there, I think, for Seattle. And I'm happy to be more aligned with what the model has and the books now after a couple days of letting the lines settle.
Yep. Always a good sign there. Okay, so we did talk Thursday night football pretty in depth on the Tuesday episode. You can obviously go back and rewatch some of those segments if you want the full coverage of this. However, we have not unveiled our same game parlay for tonight yet. And we also have a few other betting angles worth looking at. So we'll screen share here. We'll take you through some things that you can find on dimers.com. Dave, where do you want to start?
Yeah, so you just check out here our overall spread, over under money line probabilities for this game. You can click over here into our best bets. You'll see model favors this. Well, actually split on the spread here at 50% probability. Little lean to the under, small value here. And actually the best bet in this game is the Seahawks money line with a 2.3% edge. Like we said, I'd probably lean that a little more. But overall, this is a game I'm probably just not touching for game lines, really. So let's just look at a couple notable storylines in this game and a couple betting angles that I think we might have when looking at our projections. One of those is the now RB2 Amari DiMercato for the Cardinals. So Trey Benson should get most of the work here. There's not really a question about that. Amari DiMercato is projected for 18.4 rushing yards from the model. He averages 6 yards per carry on 82 carries in his career, which is a pretty decent sample size. He's broken runs of 49 and 53 in his past 2 seasons in that limited work. So he's got explosive playability. Last season, he had 4 games without a carry. And in the games he had more than 2 carries, he hit 20 plus yards in 4 out of those 5. 2 games with 40 plus. One of those came with just 2 carries. The guy can break big plays and has kind of made a habit out of doing so in his career. He's plus money at anything for 20 yards or higher, which is just about our ceiling for DiMercato. It's a pretty good rushing defense by Seattle, but I actually kind of like this as a straight bet. The first plus money line you can get on DiMercato. I may even look at playing that in the first quarter. I hit a couple nice lines with that on Tyrone Tracy last week. Get that second guy to get his touches early on. You're getting way better plus money value. I wouldn't go crazy ladder play with DiMercato here, but I think there's some plus money lines worth a look for sure. I can't imagine they're just going to give Trey Benson an absolute full workhorse level of carries in his first game as, the RB1 for Arizona. Kyler Murray's had, I think, 6 carries in every game. We'll touch on that in a little bit with our parlay. But give me DiMercato with a couple opportunities. I don't see any reason he can't tally 15 yards or close to 20 and get that plus money value. And the model's got him pretty close to that.
I like that shout. Yeah, I'm scrolling through like alt lines with DiMercato right now too. 40 plus rushing yards, plus 465. And if you really wanted to be a sicko and talk laddering, if you got 60 plus yards, you're looking at 11-1 odds with DiMercato. So look, going through game logs from last year, as you alluded to, big play type. He never had a game with more than 4 carries, even though he had 4 different games where he averaged 14 yards per carry or more. I also think looking back at it, though, there weren't many games without James Conner. So
no, he was RB3 in these scenarios.
It's going to be a totally different scenario tonight, you would think. I like this spot as well. I think being reasonable here, you should be sprinkling any DiMercato lines, but you could play a very small unit size on this and potentially still cash in. Can we flip to our favorite name maybe in this game, though? Torrey Horton, our guy.
Oh,
What are we looking at here?
Yeah. Torrey Horton, man. So we talked about him on Tuesday. We're going to talk about him some more in a little bit. But look, Torrey Horton, 30 plus yards is plus money. He's getting, where are we? Right here. All right. Getting closer to the clear wide receiver 2 role. He has exactly 32 yards in back-to-back games. He didn't even have a target in game 1. So, a role where he basically didn't have a role in game 1, immediately became one in the past 2 and was pretty consistent. Only, I think, 4 targets in those games, so we want to see that get up. But as he's closing in on this role and getting more scoring equity than Cooper Kupp, I think that's very likely. The Cardinals have allowed multiple players to hit 50-plus yards receiving in each game, 100-plus yard receiver in back-to-back games, which, let's be real, that'll probably be JSN tonight if it's going to be someone. But I'm probably going to take a look at what $2-3 on Torrey Horton 100-plus yards does for me. And we talked about the touchdown value in Horton in Tuesday's episode. So I don't know if that's still there. You'll have to check your game prediction on dimers.com to see. But he's live for me for some alternate lines tonight, at least 1 or 2. Like DeMercado, we're talking about the guy in the second role, so I'm not going crazy. I'm not laddering up to the moon. But give me Torrey Horton in a little bit of maybe his best opportunity yet.
I like it. Yeah, I think any way that I can get Horton on my card, I'm pretty happy with right now. I mentioned it on Tuesday, but it feels like Seattle just wants to get this guy more and more involved, sprinkling him on special teams and going out of their way to just creatively get him involved in the offense and the football in his hands. So I fully endorse this Torrey Horton play at plus money. We also have a touchdown betting angle here, and it's one of the bigger name players in this game. We're looking at Trey McBride. What do we see here?
Yeah, so Trey McBride, I don't think you're going to find any value on this on Dimers. So, take this with a grain of salt, or at least, you're betting this without the Dimers model's value recommendation. But Trey McBride touchdowns, some pretty good plus money. It varies a good bit. I think you can get him about plus 160, plus 165. Seahawks are bad against tight ends. It's probably their biggest weakness. They've allowed 60 receiving yards per game on average and 3 total touchdowns to the position so far. They're also the worst red zone defense versus the position. The Seahawks get close, look for Trey McBride to pull a couple targets in the red zone. And that's what I'm looking for when I want a guy on my touchdown jackpot, which is probably what I'm going to do tonight and play Trey McBride for that. Got a shot at the first or last touchdown. He's a target hog. He's the best receiver really here. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems to have a bit of a drops problem. So it's Trey McBride who keeps coming up with the goods. It's a bit hard to play a ladder at his odds. I'm not someone who really likes to play 80 plus yards shy, south of plus 200. It's just not enough ROI for me for a guy who still needs significant volume. But Trey McBride's got a great shot here at a touchdown against a very vulnerable Seahawks defense to tight ends.
I like it. Yep. It's fun to find spots to bet creative guys like Horton, right? Like the breakout under the radar types, but sometimes you've got to bake in something with a higher probability. And McBride is one of the better tight ends, one of the more popular fantasy ads for everybody this year. So I like him as the jackpot play as well here. All right. Anything else to add before we go Thursday night football, same game parlay here, Dave? I have one shout on my end. I guess I'll just mention that I was looking at that I've been sitting on, but I don't know what to do with the Charbonnet injury for Seattle. And, I've been trying to just stay away from Seattle running backs. However, one thing is staring me in the face here right now. Assuming that Charbonnet is not 100%, even if he plays, he's listed as questionable. I don't see why Seattle would go away from Kenneth Walker in this game. I mean, he's been so productive for them when he's been the bell cow this season, and Charbonnet really looked terrible the last game before his injury. So I'm looking for ways to try and just, comfortably play maybe a small unit play on Kenneth Walker, and I've stumbled into one spot I don't hate here. Kenneth Walker receiving props for this game. Now, Kenneth Walker has not really been involved in the pass game at all for Seattle this year. I think 1 catch through the last 2 games each, but last year he was heavily involved. He had 3 different games with 7 or more receptions, a couple different games with 50 plus yards. I don't think it's necessarily the plan to have him not utilized through the air. He's a very talented back that you can get out in space. We're looking against Arizona here. Game script is maybe the concern for me because I do wonder if Seattle pulls away, what do we do? But assuming this is like a back and forth game, Arizona's been really vulnerable to pass catching backs. And look, they've played some of the best ones. They already have games against Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. But last week, Christian McCaffrey had 10 catches for 88 yards against Arizona. He was everywhere. And the week before that, respectfully to Chuba Hubbard had 5 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. So I don't know what that says schematically about the Arizona defense. It might just be that they played some good pass catching backs. But like I said, Kenneth Walker was one of those last season. He hasn't really been at this season. From a quick scroll through the odds, you can get some crazy values or lines for Kenneth Walker if you play the alt line prop game. From a receiving yards perspective, he's plus money for 15 receiving yards, plus 122.
Right where we project him.
And that's right where we project him. So that's plus money value already. If you wanted to play the receptions game, again, we've seen games from Kenneth Walker with 7+ receptions. He's plus money for 3 catches. He is 16-1 for 6 catches in this game. That's essentially what the last 2 backs that Arizona's defense has played has done. I am going to sprinkle maybe a half a unit on a couple of these alt lines for Kenneth Walker and sit back and hope it cashes for me on Thursday night. Any thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I'm writing myself a note right now to not forget to play a 16-1 Kenneth Walker receptions here, man. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. This is what we're looking for, right? This is what we did with Dalton Kincaid last week. We try to find the matchups where a certain position is being exploited against a certain defense. Yeah, Kenneth Walker hasn't gotten those touches this year, but guess who has 0 receptions and 0 targets? Zach Charbonnet. If they're throwing the ball to someone out of the backfield, it's going to be K9. So, let's go. I love that. Like I said, we're looking at ways to find something else in the projections. And here we got Ken Walker, 15 yards, plus money receptions. Great spot, Greg. Yeah, love that.
It won't be the last time you hear the name Kenneth Walker from us. In fact, that's a great segue. Let's get to our Thursday night football same game parlay. We got this one at DraftKings 5-1. There's also a 50% boost that you can use on this at DraftKings. Let's unveil it, Dave. What do we got?
Thursday night lotto.
Yep. So as Greg alluded to, plus 500 on DraftKings. I slapped the boost on it yesterday. So I'm getting it at about, I think, I don't even remember what the boost was, to be honest. It's probably 30%. So I think I'm getting this at about 650 or so. So here, I'll bring this up here and we'll quickly run through each leg. So we're starting off with Kyler Murray, 25+ rushing yards. The run game's taking a hit in this backfield with James Conner out. Kyler Murray should be as ready to run the ball as he has been all season. Murray's hit this in all 3 games so far with 32+ yards in each, at least 6 carries in each game. Those are true carries, by the way. There's only 1 kneel down in there skewing the stats. Seahawks haven't really faced a rushing QB yet this season. So there's not really a comparison we can go by. I'm not looking at Spencer Rattler, Brock Purdy, and whoever I'm blanking on that the Seahawks have already played. Seahawks, that is not a dig at you, Seattle. Please don't take it personally. But so they have one of the league's better pass rush win rates, which I think really works for Kyler here. He'll likely have to scramble a few times in addition to whatever predetermined cooked up carries they have for him. So I like this here. He's projected for 31.3 rushing yards, right about his season average. And we just need him for 25. Next leg, Torrey Horton. What else is there?
Yeah, baby. Let's go.
This podcast is becoming a Torrey Horton stan show. We may have to review renaming the thing for next week, depending what happens tonight. 32 yards in back-to-back games, 30.6 yards projected. Wide receiver 2 role is his for the taking. And look, it's not often you're going to get a yards milestone, basically as the lowest you can get on a receiver at bettable odds for a guy with this opportunity. And depending what happens tonight, we may not see a chance to get Torrey Horton for 25+ yards at a reasonable price the rest of the season. And we'll finish it out with the guy we were just talking of, perhaps the man of the hour, Ken Walker, for an anytime touchdown. He's our most likely TD scorer in this game at a 45.7% probability. K9's got 3 touchdowns in his past 2 games. Like, he was pretty inefficient last game versus the Saints from a yards per carry perspective, but he was very efficient scoring. He got 2 touchdowns without Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet is supposed to be back, but I also got a notification last night on my fantasy app that he went from healthy to questionable, so trending in the wrong direction on a quick turnaround for a Thursday game. Even if he's back, the timeshare should still lean in favor of Ken Walker based on health and production alone. And as we mentioned already, Ken Walker gets the benefit of targets out of the backfield, which Zach Charbonnet simply does not.
Yep. Yeah, many ways that Ken could find the end zone in this game. The less Charbonnet is involved, the better. But again, not 100% is our expectation. So 5-1 odds, Thursday night football, same game parlay. There you have it, folks. Cross your fingers, lock it in. Make sure you get that boost with us as well. And we can celebrate a tailed together win, hopefully, at the end of Thursday night football.